Good evening. It gives me great pleasure to be here this evening to celebrate Serenity Through Landscapes here at our wonderful Marina Event Center. We come to you tonight as a gift from the Riviera Beach CRA, the City of Riviera Beach, the Artist Showcase at the Palm Beaches, Tropical Shipping, and Wells Fargo. And we're so happy to have with us this evening Dr. Catherine Lowe and Mr. Robert Lewis. And all of the artists in residence, I feel like that because his paintings, and some of his paintings have been here because I actually purchased one of his father's paintings at the last meeting we had. So it's such a pleasure to be here this evening, and I'm going to give the mic to Mr. Lewis.
So very thankful for this item on behalf of my father to grace your presence. I consider this a tangible experience to be able to share the presence of landscapes that are to my left, your right, and ones in the hallway that are of various artists in this class that is known as the original Florida Haverman artist. As I said before, it's the nickname given to Black Florida landscape painters from the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. And these artists, like my dad, marketed the sale of their art to banks, attorneys, businesses. For the most part, many weren't allowed in museums and galleries, so they took their art directly to the people. Thusly, you have the Florida experience on hand and in front of you. Coincidentally, it is available to you for purchase if you so desire. And I know that you will be supporting Serenity Through Landscapes as a result of your purchase, if you so desire. But I'm thankful for the opportunity to make a little Florida art history with you each and every time I come before you. Hopefully the next time that we grace each other's presence, my father will be available and painting live. As I was saying to our dear mayor of our city here in Riviera Beach, that I think it's the most tangible thing that can ever be said about Haverman art, and that is to see an artist paint live, see a blank canvas in result. I think that would be more tangible than anything that could ever be said about a display of art that you see. Albeit beautiful, I think that the experience would be that much more beautiful than just your viewing of the art itself. Better than a turkey and rice sandwich, as one of the young ladies in the audience said, although I think filet and lobster is better. Nevertheless, I am very thankful. I also want to add that I believe that the art experience, those that are able to, by God's grace, create something with their hands, I think that that's as real as anything. To be able to see, there's an experience that my father and I partake of every early December, and it's called Market Days in Tallahassee now. I don't know if that means anything to you, but it's the largest thing from what I know to be in Florida and the Southeast at that particular point in time. Very festive and what have you, but every single person at Market Days can create something with their hands. And I consider that art of heaven, so to speak. It would be as if the Almighty God dropped you off in the annals of time, and you're walking, and to your right, to your left, etc. Everywhere you look, there's someone who has been able to create something with their hands. And I think that as it relates to mental health, and just for the sake of the enjoyment of painting, I think that it's a wonderful thing to be able to get others involved in art. My son, at 18, all of a sudden showed up in the paint lab at the age of 17. Grandpa, Dad, I can paint. I looked at him simultaneously and said, "Kid runs." And I kept going on the project, and the next thing you know, he has a canvas in his hand. And he has some work that is available that he's been selling. He sold something just recently. But from a conditioning standpoint, mental conditioning, from working with, that's one of his paintings. And I think that at some point in time, he and I talked about the art experiences that I've had, and of course that my father's had. Dad, of course, is in the Florida Artist Hall of Fame. We think that it would be a wonderful idea to add this to your portfolio in life as you major in business, and that's what you're going to major in. He's going to attend Savannah State in the fall, Savannah State University, Savannah, Georgia, and he's going to major in business. And I said, how many kids are going to struggle with creating a project? He said, no. I said, do you think you struggle? And he says, I'm smart enough, and I dumped him on the head and said, you have your hands, you create stuff like this. So when they do a business project or talk about creating a business plan, use your skill. It's like he got an epiphany and he smiled and he said, they work hard and I work smart. I said, yeah, that's about how that should work. And whatever you don't know, call your dad. Might be able to help you. But I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to present the art to my left, and thankful for the opportunity to have a piece of art, that being, I think it's Fall on Loxahatchee, or I have a Loxahatchee River scene out in the hallway. It's being shown. It has been shown during the duration of this exhibit. And I'm thankful for those of you who had a chance to experience it and share it with me. And we look forward to hopefully this being a precedent-setting event for myself and the other artists that chose to participate, that being Heilemann and other landscape artists, whether it be Florida landscape or what have you. I'm thankful that we can share this moment in time with you, and I appreciate you greatly. If you have any questions of me, please see me during this process. I'll be happy to give you some contact information. But thanks again, and also especially to Dr. Lowe, who called me to have me here, and those others who are in the plan of helping this experience to take place. Thank you.
Once again, we're very, very delighted for Art Showcase of the Palm Beach. Just thankful to the City of Redwood Beach, CRA, and also the VFW facility. It's very nice. I know a lot of events are going to take place here. We're working very hard to try to get a good day to have the closing reception. Right now in South Florida, really very much in need of rain with all of the fires that are popping up and things like that. I think it's making life to be somewhat stressful, so we're very happy about the Serenity show that we have had, the landscapes, and a few people have said to me, so I guess they've seen some of the videos, and they said, I saw some of the artwork, so I think that that's been very, very good. We're proud and very thankful about that. We have several artists among the exhibit. We do have several of the Florida Highwaymen. I think we have some artwork out there by, of course, R.L. Lewis. We also have Ron McClendon Jr. I believe we have some James Gibson, and several of the other Florida Highwaymen. So we're very proud about that, and we really were very, very happy to have this closing show, and we wanted a lot more people to attend. We're hoping that they will be able to find all the contacts when they see the events on the show. If they have any further questions, I guess they can really call Artist Showcase of the Palm Beaches at 561 832-1323, and try to get with Amari so that they see some of the pieces of artwork that they're not able to be here today to see. I think we'll be taking the show down in the next few weeks. And we're very excited to get ready for the next series for the summer and fall, the shows that we will be having. We do have some of the artists here. Now we have one of the artists here today, Lupe Lawrence, who's a great landscape artist, and I think we have some of her art on display. And I think, sometimes when we express ourselves, art, especially for our children, gets to be very, very, very important. And during the stressful time that we're having, I think everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. It was great, and I thought we were going to have a lot of rain, which we badly need, but I think a lot of people had a chance to celebrate a little bit for the Memorial Day weekend. I know that today today, I believe it is the 100-year anniversary for the Tulsa Black Wall Street, but also there was an unfortunate serious Greenwood massacre that took place there. And really, I think there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. It's interesting that I have been seeing some national coverage of it, and I was also thinking, we had something similar here in Florida, and it's coming up on about 98 years, and that was in Rosewood, so I don't know if anyone is familiar with the things that happened in Rosewood, but it was very similar incident, and I really think that it's important that we in America talk about healing. And a lot of times, in order when there's been tragedy and when things have happened, so often we really look to our artists. It's usually it's our performing artists and our visual artists, but a lot of times it's really the visual artists who we look to when they start to express, sadness, pain, and the things that we have to go through for healing. If we're going to try to get past those painful episodes, try to heal from it and move forward. So I think that was probably some of the inspiration for having this Serenity show at this time. So many things are happening. Good things are happening, but there are a lot of other things that we have to think back on, try to reflect upon, and try to see, especially for our children and the young people who are coming up, who are going to be our future, what they're seeing, what their eyes see of what's going on in the world. So I think, and a lot of times it's good for them to even be able to pick up pen and pencil or crayons and kind of express what they're seeing of the world that they're seeing today. So I always love to hear the artists and what inspires them to create pieces and then have a little dialogue about it. So I think it's really, really important that we take that time, we do that, we dedicate time, we celebrate, we reflect, and we really take the time to take a moment to especially talk to our young people about where they are. Because I think a lot of them are very stressed. I've heard a few of them say, I'm afraid to go to school, I don't want to wear this mask, I'm concerned that I might get sick or someone else might make me sick. So I think it's very, very important that people are now trying to do more intergenerational family kinds of things, to get together, take a moment, have a meal together, be it a turkey sandwich or a filet of lobster, but to take that time and also to take a moment to just maybe sit and be creative and talk about, what's going on with people so that they feel more comfortable, and especially our young people. Questions? Fine.
I just wanted to ask how the project started, you and your family, with the landscape painting, and into the art school, was it trained by someone, was it YouTube, how did it happen?
Well, it's what you call push pull. And he's like smallish, and he called himself to follow his older brothers. And we had one of them. He followed him in football. And then he just wanted to have a jersey on. And wound up playing, got injured playing football at historically Black Monroe High School in Brevard County. Now, if you know Brevard's about 100 miles from here, maybe a little less, but it's 80 miles long and 18 miles wide, so it's largely a coastal community. I know it's top, and of the 67 counties, it's top in the state as it relates to the population. Palm Beach is not as long, but it's much more wide. But nevertheless, he attended historically Black Monroe High School and attended himself playing football. And during that particular experience, in order to get the elective credit, sports was considered an elective credit. So since you were injured, you went to art class, took an art class. And as a consequence, you met a little white lady by the name of Alberta Leisure. She taught part-time at 3 historically Black schools in the county. Stone in Melbourne, Monroe and Cocoa, and Titusville housed Gibson High School. Those are all historically black schools designated for black students who weren't allowed during the segregated South to attend historically white schools. So nevertheless, she was demonstrating with initially an etching on how to paint an Indian River Lagoon scene. Now, you all that live in Palm Beach County, I don't know historically if you know that the Indian River ends in West Palm Beach, if I'm not mistaken. It actually starts here. It starts here. It ends in New Smyrna Beach, all the way to the coast in the south end of Volusia County. That's where New Smyrna Beach is. So the lagoon system is vast, and it represented a vein of life for so many people. And if you know anything about American history, and more specifically world history, people tend to live closer to the coastline. That's where you'll find a lot of life and civilization. And my dad's parents weren't wealthy people at all. My grandmother was a seamstress, and his father worked for Florida East Coast Railroad. And consequently, my grandmother followed a white family down here from Mississippi. She was a Williams, and she followed them down here, and they were the Sherrards, and they allowed the Lewis family, 6 kids, 4 boys, 2 girls, and the parents to live on the back side of the property. She was the family, that white family, seamstress. She did an awful lot of work for them and other people in the community. So consequently, growing up on the Indian River Lagoon, my dad saw what she was demonstrating in class. And he evoked a response from it, a reaction. As a consequence, when she passed out the pens and what have you, pencils, he mimicked the etching that he saw her do. She was alarmed in a very good way, and the next time she came to the class, keep in mind, she's teaching part-time at 3 historically black schools, she made a beeline to him and gave him a watercolor set. She didn't give other kids the watercolor set, but for whatever reasons, he was able to mimic what he saw her accomplish in the class that day. So he tells me his first watercolor, his first Florida landscape painting was with a watercolor set. And he said that from that point on, she was in his thinking about how he could use his artistic ability to get an education, maybe even make a living. He said none of that fathom, he couldn't fathom any of that. But ironically, she gave him a newspaper clipping after a long weekend, and it said, "Artist pays Dr. Bills with his art." And it was the legendary artist Harold Newton. Harold Newton is the first painting Florida landscape painter that has been called a hybrid. He started as early as 1952. And he said that did a lot for him. He got a chance to see someone who looked like him and who was doing something that he didn't think was possible for a black man to do. And he said that was the impetus. Miss Leisure farther pushed him along and said, "Why don't you go to the Berea School in Kentucky?" That's an art school that's even in existence today. As a matter of fact, they boast a tuition-free, for the most part, existence for students that have a special gift or skill. Kentucky to him was, you might as well say Mars. They didn't have the money for that. And at the end of high school, his uncle's, his best friend's uncle, encouraged him to give college a shot. And he wound up going to historically black Edwards College in Jacksonville. Stayed there for a couple of semesters and ran out of money. And if you know anything about American history, most black youth during the second black migration after World War II, this being in the late 50s, he decided to move up north, following some friends for economic opportunities, jobs, and what have you. Wound up working as an orderly of all places, Syracuse University Hospital, and was a month or 2 into working over the summer, and one of the university employees comes to him and says, "Do you know we subsidize the education of our employees?" And my dad looked at her and said, "What the heck does subsidy mean?" She says, "Just follow me in the office and fill out the application." And he did. And he says that he didn't know who a Cezanne or Rembrandt was, but he got a chance to experience the different genres of art, different skills. He said, but the whole while that he was experiencing these things, he said he always leaned on his Florida landscapes. That was what he liked to do. He finished his last year of school at historically black Florida A&M in Tallahassee. And I have some of his pictures. You know, he was maybe 105 pounds. So I was looking at his ribs and I said, "Geez, what do you mean?" tried to hit me with that, but I should repeat. It's from cheese sandwiches. Nevertheless, yes, rabbit food. That's right, Ms. Lupe. You are correct. I grow rabbit food. So a very think about it. As I was talking with the mayor about. But did I answer your questions about which book?
I'd like to make some additional. It's very, very interesting what happens with artists, and the Florida Highwaymen are really, because they really is starting a whole new movement of art here in the state of Florida. Not a lot of places. I don't know if there's any other group when you start talking about Florida Highwaymen and the books that have been written about them, what's been published about them. And I just remember some of the stories when Gary Monroe and even is it Jim Fitch, when they talk about them. And most people really talk about A.E. Beanie Bacchus, who's also in the Florida Arts Hall of Fame as an artist. And they really say that he really worked with Harold Newton, I guess, and Alan Hare to teach them a lot of the techniques that they did learn. And how quickly, and when they caught on, they seemed to have caught on so quickly. And with the wet on wet technique and some of the other things they were doing, they could create artwork so fast. And a lot of times when they were doing it, the artwork had to dry. And I think some of the statements that we're seeing a lot of times were, I think you would be smart to pick up a paintbrush and learn how to paint than to be out in the Indian River area picking oranges. Because you might only make $5 for the day picking oranges or a whole day, when you might be able to create a piece of artwork in half an hour or so. Put it in a car, and I think that was what was famous about Mary Ann Carroll, the only first lady and the only original of the Florida Highwaymen was a female. And she would a lot of times have the artwork put in her car, and sometimes they'd have to hold it up and separate it because it wasn't dry. And they would drive from Vero to Fort Pierce to West Palm Beach, all the way almost down to Key West. And they would go into banks and accounting offices and things like that, because so many people love the scenery of the cotton candy and kind of the spiritual words, or so many of the great colors that we see here in Florida, the sunrises, the sunsets, and as you said, the seascapes and the landscapes, the Waxahachie River, all of those things, and it was just so beautiful. So many tourists would come down here and would see this, and would say, you know what, I really need to take this back home, because we don't see cotton candy clouds where we live, and these kinds of sunsets. So I really think that that has made a really historical impact on what has happened with art here in Florida. And I think some of it has been documented, and I think academically, it needs to be placed in more of the school books very early for young people. I think that would be really, really great.
Well, our personal opinion, my dad's personal opinion, I can think it's been 20 years ago. What the nickname Highwayman did was given an identifiable name to the art that's in here as early 50s. It just simply gave it a reason to be collected. Any of you can collect anything exclusive of art. Be coins. You don't have to necessarily be a numismatist, but if you collect pottery, that pottery does have a designated name that identifies it and ultimately gives it a reason to be collected. And consequently, I was talking with my dad about 6 years into the nickname Highwayman coming into being. And the last time I was here, I did give an explanation of the 3 times that the nickname Highwayman has been used in American history, and even world history. The first nickname Highwayman was given to the English robbers on the side that would bushwhack people and rob people on the side of the road. That was a notorious name, an infamous name. The second time, of course, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, these were country musicians that took their musical talents and played in honky-tonk bars around the South and they made their name as musicians as a result of their ability, their incredible ability to play the various instruments that they specialized in and in their singing abilities. Now, this nickname, Highwaymen, the distinction they carry is these are black artists that dare to paint Florida themes and scenes, not necessarily black themes and scenes. I've had countless conversations with wonderful people like Dr. Lowe, and they'll come to me and say, I want some black art. Of course, we're both black, or African American, if you were. And they'll say they want that. And I'll say, well, that's your mother. I'm not going to discuss it, but that's who your mother is. That's who your family is. Or that's the family plot, the family house. And I said, whatever is distinct in your memory, that would include African American history. So oftentimes we might paint, or at least my father has been known to paint someone's tobacco barn. And he painted 2 renditions of it, this little story. And I said to my dad, I said, why did you paint 2 different renditions? He said, you know that guy that you introduced me to? I said, yeah. He says, his cousin ran into me the other day. I was out, and he wanted the other side of the barn. That was the side he played on versus the side that he played on. So they wanted different viewpoints. So it's your viewpoint of your history. It is indicative of your history. But to get back and answer your question quickly, I convinced them to have a theme, and his theme is to capture Florida as our history on canvas before it disappears. And I think that resonates with an awful lot of organizations. We've been able, as a result of that theme, to do stuff with the citrus industry, Florida Cattlemen's Association, Division of Forestry. We do an awful lot with organizations that share our preservation or restoration themes. Oftentimes you might do a 4-pack or 6-pack of paintings. That sounds odd, but there might be 4 to 6 paintings that will be rendered to the city of Riviera Beach, for example. And it might be old historical sites that are in the memories of those of you who live here. And as a consequence, they might go up in a beautiful hallway such as the one that we'll view outside on Lee. And part of the proceeds from the print series of these particular monuments or popular places go to support Serenity through landscapes or whatever else. So that has been a relevant way. We've stayed relevant in conjunction with organizations that want to still be a part of the conversation. So that's very important now. I can't speak for some of the other original Highwayman artists. I'm a Lewis, so I might be a little prejudiced when it comes to that theme. And I go out of my way to give you your turkey, dry, and cheese sandwich. I'm going to give you what you want relative to what you like as a part of your experiences.
Well, I think you pretty much summed it up. I think pretty much demand and wants and needs kind of direct where we should be going. And as I said about the academic side, I think it is important. Thank you for that question, because preservation is extremely important, whether it's our landscape, whether it's our basically our history of our people. But it's so important that we take the time to look at that. And, when we start looking at what we have to do politically and then population-wise, what we should be doing, but I think it is very, very important that we try to preserve some of the things that are very, very important. When I worked a lot with the Palm Beach County Cultural Council, we kept saying we wanted Palm Beach County to be the cultural capital of the state. And everybody thinks about Florida when you come here, that you're going to go play tennis, or you're going to go play golf, or you might go fishing, and they don't really look at the performing arts or the visual arts as something that has been a flat staff and something that people really come down here. So for the last, I would say the last 25, 30 years, we have tried to make that, an additional part that people will say, wherever they go, we want to come to some of the events that we have here in Florida from a cultural point of view. So it's important that we preserve something that's been great here. And I think we've been making an effort, and I think the Florida Highway are in the, right at the forefront of making that happen.
Any other questions?
If there are no other questions, and I'd like to thank once again all of our sponsors and everyone. The city of Riviera Beach. Do we have any other comments from anyone else as we close this final closing?
I just want to say that this is such a tremendous opportunity to engage through the series of art introduction to our community. And Mr. Lewis, I so appreciate your human interest element to art, to what you have to offer here, because the depths of just creativity and the basis for it is just so remarkable. And I guarantee you that we're going to find a way to share that with our children here in the community and a lot of our elders who don't know, who don't appreciate. So on behalf of the CRA, on behalf of the city, I just want to say thank you both for taking the time, and to Lupe and to Karen, for coming to share with us, giving of yourself, and just speaking from your soul about these beautiful, beautiful paintings. It has meant so much, and we know this is just the beginning of the conversation. So thank you.
Great. George Moore.
Good to see you. I'll be